My next guest is challenging for the CombatFC Bantamweight title on May 24th. He trains out of Long Island MMA, and if you ask around, he's one of the nicest guys in the sport. Everyone will tell you that. He is Ashiek Ajim. Ajim. How's it going today, Ashiek?
I'm doing great. How are you doing?
Good. See, I even asked, and I still messed up the last name.
Yeah, right? That's all right.
It's not
you got it the first time at Jim.
I've done it worse with other people, though.
Don't worry. As long as you got the Ashiek part right, that's all that matters, really.
Coming off a fantastic showing out at Ring of Combat back in March, you're now facing John Douma, a fighter you shared a card with twice.
Yes.
For the actual CombatFC Bantamweight title on May 25th. And unlike some of your other visits up north, the belt's going to be on the line. John's going to show up. It's not going to be like a guy gets signed to the UFC a week prior and all that when one of your first ones went. So how did this fight come together? Going from New York back to New England?
Well, it's the CombatFC promoters. I'm guessing because I don't know exactly how it went down, but I'm guessing they contacted my manager. Managed by Dominance MMA, so with Ali, and there's a couple other guys too fighting for titles from the same management. And I think they actually asked me first if I wanted either Douma or Pila. He actually fought him in the last fight before, and my choice was Douma. I wanted to get the belt and get a good name under my belt as well. And as far as the timing goes for the fight too, so it was for May 24th. I was given this about maybe 2 months ago, and I'm thinking that's an adequate amount of time for me to fight Douma. I don't want to spend too long training for a guy who's not saying Pila isn't that good, but not for a guy who isn't that top tier of an opponent or a bigger name, So I wanted to have a decent amount of time for a good opponent like John Douma.
That makes sense. I mean, you look at your record, you faced great competition all the way up. You made it to Contender Series. Everyone knows how that went on a card that was pretty stacked, a little top heavy on that card. So most people, I think, not only me, but may not remember your fight because of who headlined your particular card. But you are returning to New England. You're 6-1 in New England, which is rare that that New England New York rivalry, they're nice to you. And this is you're looking to secure your second title up there too. You did get the CES title back in 2022. What would securing your second pro title mean to you in your career at this point?
For me, honestly, it looks good on paper. If you're winning belts, it's this guy's winning belts here. It looks good. But I'm all about just getting the W's, getting the wins. I'm just trying to win fights, win them in spectacular fashion if I can. But at the end of the day, just winning the fights. And belts are nice, So I like belts. And also, you bring up the New England part. I fought in Rhode Island a bunch, and people started calling me the king of Rhode Island because I'm in New York, and they're like, "What? I'm not fighting in the tri-state area or anything. It's more in the Northeast." And now, because I got a belt in Rhode Island, I was the king of Rhode Island. Now I'm gonna get a belt in Massachusetts, so then I can be the official king of New England.
Yeah, and then speaking of New England, your opponent John Douma is a stable up there. New England Cartel, the whole nine. Everything New England is John Douma. He comes in with a record of 8-4, and like I said, you shared the card twice, but he's only fought on a card with you once. He was in a grappling match, either the first or second time through.
Okay. Yeah.
Without going in any game plans, have you seen anything from his tape or anything that kind of shows how you're going to take advantage of his any holes in his game?
I wouldn't say holes. He's a pretty complete fighter. He's similar to myself. We're both well-rounded. We're good with the striking, good with the grappling. Again, not giving away any game plans. I'm looking to take the fight where it goes. I'm always ready to take it to the ground, keep it on the feet. I think Douma's a good opponent, like I said before. And yeah, we did share a card a couple of times, and we've also fought some similar opponents as well. And I expected to fight him at some point. Actually, I expected to fight him sooner than this when we were both fighting for CES. And now it ends up happening here for the CombatFC belt, so that's nice.
It's a lot better when there's a couple pounds of gold on the line instead of just the original paycheck. Right. And we are in May. Contender Series kicks up in August. You've been on there once. Most people, when they get back the second or third time, the second and third goes their way, but for some reason the second time doesn't get them signed. Are there plans to win here and maybe hop on the mid-season, end of season?
Yeah, I wouldn't mind it if I got called up for the Contender Series. I'd take it. Well, honestly, I wouldn't mind either just getting called up to UFC right away, whether it's a short notice or I get time to train for about for my first UFC fight. The first time I fought for the Contender, it was more of I I actually wanted to fight in the Contender Series because I'm just a fan of the sport and I like watching the Contender Series. So I'm like, yeah, I want to compete in that. But now I've already competed in the Contender Series. So I'm like, all right, I'm fine with just going right into the UFC. You know, I don't really need the Contender Series aspect of it. But if that happens, I'll take it. It also brings a lot of eyes to you as well when you're on a Contender Series or certain people that watch. So that's good too.
Nice. And then, you know, for those who don't know Long Island MMA, who have you been training with through this one, and who's like some other names around the gym that people would know as well, just so they can kind of get an idea of who you're working with?
Yeah, so at Long Island MMA, we're definitely on the come up. We're not there's not a whole bunch of big names. That's why people probably don't know us as much. But in the local scene, at least, they're definitely are aware of us. And I'd say the biggest name of the gym right now is probably Brian Kelleher. He fights for UFC. He's had a bunch of UFC fights. I train with him pretty often. We get a bunch of sparring rounds in. My main training partners, John Caldone, Tom Picciano, John O'Day, and Chris Guerrilla. Those are usually guys I'm training with. They're actually, most of them at least, are fighting 2 weeks after me for Ring of Combat again. And most of us actually fought on the same Ring of Combat card for my last fight a couple months ago. So yeah, we're all kind of peaking at the same point, so it's good to get those rounds in with them.
Normally, I have Pooch behind me. Actually, he's been on this poster area for a while, but that poster got moved to the other side. That's another one who has always been on my radar for a quick interview, and timing is always wrong on my end. Right, and I just know, you know, he's a character. A lot of the guys in the gym are a character, so I like bringing people on that not only are competitive but have a story to tell in a way. And anyone who's ever seen Tom Picciano knows there's a lot of stories on that side.
Yeah. He's always a good interview. So good conversation too. Always good to chop it up with Pooch.
And another area that I want to touch on too that many may not know: how did you get on the Chael Sonnen podcast show back when he was trying to get you? Like, he was covering your fare and all to go to CES, basically. How did that come across?
I get access every once in a while. This was back in the pandemic time, so that's when it was kind of hard to get fights. There was not really much events going on. I was 3-0 at the time, so as a pro, I was 3-0. And my coach, Greg Tipasquale, he was calling up. Back when Dennis Bermudez used to train, now he's retired, but he used to be managed by Ryan Parsons, and Greg called him up, asked him if he has like any information on any bouts that's going on, and Ryan Parsons happened to be helping out Chael with his podcast at the time, and Chael overheard the conversation, and then right on the spot just did a bit about like just me, pretty much how I need to fight, and then if I got an opponent, he would fly them out and do this and that, and that's pretty much how it went.
And did that lead to the Chris Montino fight, or was that another fight?
That did lead to that fight. So I was I had fought for CES a couple times before, and that kind of lit the fire and like made them push for a fight even more. So they were one of the first local regional events that I was able to put a show on after the pandemic, and they pushed even harder to get me an opponent after that happened. The fight went well to start, not so good towards the end. Didn't really know who Chris Montino was until after that O'Malley fight. You see like he's just a zombie after he gets caught with some shots. I ended up dropping him, but I thought I would just put him down again. I let him up. That didn't go my way, and then ended up having an adrenaline dump in the fight. Also, it was definitely a good learning experience. Pretty much talking about like fight experience, because I was 3-0 at the time, and he had, I think, probably like 12 professional fights or so. So it was a good learning experience just based off of that.
So I don't want to end on bad juju. So May 24th, you come in, you get the win. How's it getting done?
If it was, honestly, I don't know how it's going to go, but if it's up to me, it's a first round KO, you know, real quick, within the first minute, no damage. I'm able to fight again right after that. But knowing John Douma, watching his fights, this guy is ready to throw down and go to war. So I'm pretty sure it's going to be a hard 5-minute rounds. And I've said this before, and being serious about it, like I'm trying to win by unanimous decision, you know, just because I know how important it is to get fight time, to get the cage time in, and coming off earlier in my career, coming off a lot of fights that were ended early due to like quick finishes. I wasn't able to build that cage time, and I'm just looking to build experience um, in these local fights, and then as we move our way up, if a finish comes, I'll take it, but I'm just trying to get comfortable in the cage as well, or in the fight, right? Because I'm comfortable in training and sparring, but then when it comes to fight time, that's a different story when you compare it to actual practice. So
May 24th, UFC Fight Pass. I don't know what order the title fights are going on, so I don't want to say your main event, co-main. I think there's 3 fights, so even the whatever you want to call it.
I think I'm main eventing this. So I think I was co-main before, but the main event fell through. So now we're main eventing, but I'm not 100% sure on that either. But I think so.
But outside of that, I'm gonna pass the mic to you. You obviously have sponsors coming in. It's the only way regional MMA makes anything really, makes the camps go a little easier as well. Pass the mic to you to kind of get the shout outs, and we'll wrap it up, and then do the whole best wishes thing. Mike's all yours.
Well, to tell the truth, I'm not like a big sponsor guy. I just train and fight. I don't worry about the sponsors and stuff like that. If I'm shouting anybody out, it's my teammates, my coaches. I mentioned my teammates before. I want to shout out my coaches, Brian Michelino, Greg Tipasquale, and Ryan LaFleur, and everyone else at Long Island MMA that helps me out, and my friends and family that support me throughout this fighting career.
Fantastic, and again, I'm going to stress it one more time because I worked in sales for a while. If you say it 3 times, people actually care to remember. May 24th, UFC Fight Pass. Main event. We're going to go with that. That's how it's going to be. You are now the main event. You versus John Douma for the CombatFC Bantamweight title. Best of skill. I look forward to watching it. And I'll probably catch you Monday on the press conference.
Nice. Thank you very much.
Awesome. Have a good night.
You too.